today. So today's training is the Ladies of Franklin. So we've got 3 very important ladies to the city of Franklin here with us today. They don't think so. I don't know why. But we have Brandy Blanton, Alma McLemore, and Margaret Martin. And so I will give a brief introduction of each of them, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time telling their whole life story because I want them to have plenty of time to talk and share with you all. There's a lot to tell in their life stories. So you each have a brochure that has their bios in that, so you can look at the bios. And then there's also some QR codes on there, and we'll talk about that throughout the presentation of what you can do with those and the reason that those wound up in there. So we had an opportunity to get together and talk, and we talked about what was important to them and what they wanted you all to know, and so that's where that came from. So we're going to go ahead and get started. So one of the things about each of these ladies is that they are all very deeply rooted in this community. Brandy has been here since she was 10 years old, and but she has worked and served in the community for most of her life, for all of her adult life really, and has been very active in the community and in giving back, and currently serves as one of our aldermen and has for many years now. And then Miss Alma is a lifetime resident of Franklin, and so born and raised here, and has raised her family here, and has seen a lot of growth and change and things in the city of Franklin. And she is also very deeply rooted and active in serving this community in many ways, and you can read a lot about that in the brochure. But Alma is currently the president of the African American Heritage Society. I was like, I'm going to mess that up. The African American Heritage Society of Williamson County, and they run the McLemore House. So she is very busy this week with all of the things coming up to do with Juneteenth. And we'll talk about that a little bit more, so I'll let her kind of plug some of those activities that are coming up. But she has served in many ways throughout the community and currently serves on our planning commission too. So, and then Miss Margaret is, I like to think of Miss Margaret as Franklin's grandmother. Like everybody loves Margaret.
So sweet.
She and Miss Alma both are great grandmothers, so big accomplishments for both of them. But they are both. Margaret has served extensively in the community as well, and has been involved for many years. She had me put in her bio, I don't like telling a lady's age, but she had me put in her bio that she is 87 years old. And she wanted you all to know that she's 87 years old because she wanted to make sure that you knew that she has been here in Franklin for 87 years. So that's 87 years worth of change and growth and things that she has not only observed but been a very integral part of. So we're happy to have Margaret with us here today. She served for many years, started on the Planning Commission, and then served as an alderman for many years. So we're very thankful to all 3 of them to have them here today. And I didn't mention Brandy since I plugged their grandmother status. Brandy is also a very proud mother and grandmother. And I think for all 3 of them, that's probably their biggest and proudest accomplishments are their families and being able to serve their community and have their families here in the community. So thank you all for being here. So we'll go ahead and get started. One of the things that we talked about that I wanted each of you to just kind of talk about a little bit was, what was your experience like growing up in Franklin?
You want to go first, Margaret?
Sure, I'm the oldest.
Yeah, that's right. You're also, yeah.
Wanting you to know how old I am not because of all those things she said, but because when I say something stupid and I do something stupid and I say something mean and hateful, I want you to be able to say, she's just an old woman that can't help it. So that all takes care of all the problems. Okay. What was your question?
What was your experience like growing up in Franklin?
All right. my experience was not like anybody else's. This town does not even resemble what was here years and years ago. The town was very small. I lived on the edge of town. On Lewisburg Avenue, there's a log house before you get to the railroad. That's where I grew up. And it was, that was the town. And all of the industry that you see in Franklin was out of town. You didn't put industry downtown. You built it on the outskirts. Well, now Franklin has grown way past the outskirts. So that's the reason you see some industry downtown that you would not ordinarily see in another city. I think that's kind of interesting. You know, there's no way to really get rid of it, except we did have some rezoning that took care of some of it. But anyway, my town was small. I lived on the edge, Lewisburg Avenue at the railroad. Not all the streets were paved. We had very, very few sidewalks. And if you did not have a sidewalk in front of your house, you walked on the grass or in the street. Or in my case, the mud. And it's still, 87 years later, Lewisburg Avenue in front of the log house, you still walk in the mud. And I had tried for 16 years to get a sidewalk.
It's coming. It's coming.
What?
We're getting one.
You getting when?
I don't know when we're getting
No.
one. Ask Vernon.
It's 16 years ago that we've been working on it. Anyway, so those people have something to look forward to, maybe. I don't know how many years
Oh, who
down
knows?
the road that is. Are you familiar with what is the antique store on the railroad?
Oh, Mac and Zula and Mac.
Yeah, there's an antique store. That was a grocery store. If you look carefully on the north side of that building, you will see the outline of the little store, and that's where we bought our groceries. Unless we needed something big, and then we had 5 big groceries on Main Street. So I don't know if you can imagine that, but we had Hills and Thurman's and McCall's and Stevens and Wagner's, and I thought there were others. But anyway, we did our shopping at the little store. We just walked down there and got our milk and bread and whatever else we needed. So that is still there, and you can see that, and it's really fun to imagine that that's where we did our shopping. And there was a gas pump out front also, so we also had a gas station right next to us. So that was fun, you know. Anyway, all right. And the Gilco, the little shop where she has the lamps and the lampshades, that was the Gilco drive-in, and that's the only place that we could go for hamburgers and Cokes, and right there on the railroad. That was the Gilco. We played all over the neighborhood for entertainment. We made clover chains. There was no TV. Radio fun on the weekends, because you can listen to the Lux Radio Theater or the Batman or something, but we made clover chains, held them across Lewisburg Avenue, and waited all day for a car to come and break it. Now you can't get across the street without getting hit. But we would sit there all day with our clover chain waiting for a car to come. Let's see, we played badminton in our yards. We played wood tag with the trees. My father sold fishing tackle, and so at night we would put a rubber plug on the end of a fishing rod and sit on the porch and cast into the yard and let the owls come out of the trees, grab the little rubber bait and fly off with it. That was entertainment. And let's see, Mother May I, croquet, that's what we did for entertainment. Now you all can pick it up from there and go on to
The next
the
generation.
next generation.
Well, you all know I'm a Franklin native. I was born here. I was born in what we call town. My parents, I was one of 7 children, but my parents lived out on Boyd Mill, the area that's going to be the Agri-Hood. My family has stories tied to there. But there were 5 people, my mother and father and 3 children. And then there was myself and my younger brother were born here in Franklin. But that was the country then. I mean, think about how close that is now, but that was the country. So we called it, what we call town is where I was born. And I have some fond memories as well. The things that we did were similar. We played jacks. Y'all probably don't know what that is. We played jacks and tag and Red Rover and hide and go seek and all of the things that that they don't play anymore because, and tag, you know, now they have what, laser tag. They don't know what tag is. But we played together in the community. I had one of my best friends even now. She lived on the corner of West Main and 9th Avenue, 11th, on the corner across from where Larry, the Westbrooks are. She lived there, and she would come and play with me, and I would come play with her. We lived in the projects. I lived in the projects at Short Court. I lived on Cummins Street. I lived on Natchez Street, so I'm very familiar with that. I've got many stories that I will, share later as we do our videos and things at the Natchez Street Center. But I remember when we were on Cummins Street, my brothers and his friends went to the car. They found bullets and took them to the Carter House. We didn't care, didn't know what the Carter House really meant, and didn't care about it. I only started really understanding. Didn't understand about the Carter House until I got involved with the African American Heritage Society, and then we started doing things with the Bella Franklin Trust. But that meant nothing to us, and even today we're trying to get more people involved in understanding that that's part of the whole story. The battle, the plantation, the Carlton plantation, the Bella Franklin, then the Reconstruction, where we had Natchez Street and Hardbargain, the 2 neighborhoods that were created, that were established after the Civil War. That's where the African American people were. And the Carter family, the last one that lived on Natchez, just passed away. A dear friend of ours. She was very active in the community. Annette Lane, her ancestors were in the basement of the Carter House, and they were on Natchez Street until this last year when Annette moved out of the neighborhood. So we've got many stories to share from there. I love my neighborhood, but my friend, like I said, I would come and visit her, and then she'd come visit me. And she was white. We didn't think anything about it. And then I used to go to town. We call it town from my house, from my grandmother's house. She lived across from First Baptist Church, the church on Natchez on the corner. She lived right there. That project is still there. It's still there. And I remember I'd go to her house and she'd fix this cabbage. Ooh, it cabbage stinks, y'all. But I love going to town with my grandmother. We'd go on weekends, my family, they would go to like H.G. Hills. I think it was H.G. Hills then. And on the weekend, all of us kids they'd get a 7-pack candy bar, and all of us get 1 candy bar for the weekend as a treat. I mean, can you imagine one? But anyway, that was fun. And anyway, so Polly and I, we always had a good time, and I loved being in the Natchez Street community and growing up there. And there was something else, I lost my train of thought I was going to share that was really good about that area. Right now, there's a lot of redevelopment going on where I was, and I remember that when my grandmother and she wore those old shoes. People are not old anymore, Margaret. Old people are not old anymore. My grandmother was like 60-something, and she wore these old brogans, and she would walk in, she'd wear them, and I'd go to town with her, and we'd go downtown, as you talked about, the stores. We'd go down there, the Mr. Stevens store, and some of those stores we'd go, and I love going to town with her on Saturdays. And we went to the courthouse. Now, I remember this as a little girl. There was the 2 bathrooms, the colored and the white. And down in the basement at the courthouse, I don't know how the white bathroom smelled, but oh my goodness, that was a stinking something that, it was just strong. You know, do you remember that? It was strong, wasn't it? Was the white bathroom strong too?
Well, I can't. I don't think I ever went to the bathroom down there.
No,
They were
goodness.
down in the basement, and I remember plainly going, and we'd go down there downtown, and we'd have a good time.
And then as I grew up and, got married and had kids, with my kids, we'd go to different places all over Franklin. But Franklin didn't have a lot. For the people who complain, I am sorry. I'm a native, and I'm happy with what we have. I'm just one person, though, and people have the right to voice their thoughts on what they like. But we had one little this and one little that, right, Margaret? We had one Shoney's, and everybody would go to Shoney's, and lines and lines of people.
Well, we didn't have anything.
Right.
We had nothing.
We had a Shoney's, and then we go and eat Shoney's. They had that breakfast bar, and everybody, and we'd eat and get full, and we headed to Hickory Hollow and all those places. They had nothing like that in Franklin. And my kids, we wanted them to have nice clothes and stuff, so we would go to Hickory Hollow, we'd go to Kmart and Target and all those at Harding Mall and Noblesville Road, because we had none of those stores. Now, a long time ago, we had I think the Walmart of Franklin was the W.T. Grant store. It was called a W.T. Grant. Did you ever? It was on where H.D. Hills was. Okay, it was called W.T. Grant. But that was like the Walmart of Franklin. And anyway, what we have now versus what we used to have, it's amazing. And people come to me right now, they're fussing because we're tearing down things downtown. And you all remember the Henry Well drilling place and all those old buildings that were just ragged and they were just sitting there. What is there now? Isn't it much better? Don't you all think it's much better? Why do we want to continue to say, oh, well, that was there 65, 70 years ago. You're going to leave it there and leave it dilapidated where it's just an eyesore? So people have to look at things from a different perspective. Even the Franklin Elementary School building, people are sad about that because their memory is there. But things cannot stay forever the same. So I'm just glad that I was able to make a contribution. I've been involved in a lot of things in the community, and I'm not going to waste time talking about all of that because you asked me about my personal, but there's a lot, and I will stop right there.
Wow. First of all, I'm honored to be here, and these two ladies are very important in my life, and I could listen. You should just have them talk all day long. I often joke with people, I only leave Franklin if somebody needs a ride to the airport or there's a funeral, because today we have everything we need within our city limits.
Amen. Amen.
I got here at 10 years old, but I grew up, I was born in Nashville. So it's not like I came from Africa and landed in Franklin. But oddly enough, when I got here in 77, we spent a little bit of time in Miami, Florida. My mom got divorced and we moved back to Tennessee and could not afford Nashville. So she bought a house in Franklin on Alexander Drive for $42,000 in 1977. Alexander Drive, for those of you who know, is behind Dirty Kroger. The left side, not the right side. And if you go around the big curve, it was the 9th house on the right. Looks exactly the same. It's a yellow Cape Cod with green shutters, and that's where I grew up. So for me, starting school at the time, thought we'd go to Johnson because back then the schools were separated. You went kindergarten through 2nd grade, one school, then you went 3rd and 4th, another school, then you went 5th and 6th to where I started, which is now Franklin Elementary. So I started school there, and much like Margaret and Alma talk about, there wasn't a lot going on in Franklin. My life kind of started because of school, and I joined the band in 5th grade with Bill Marley, who's still in my life today. I still call him Dad, but there was nothing to do but get in trouble or out of trouble. If you all know the signs at the end of town as you pass First Avenue that says no cruising zone, that's my generation, because that's all we would do on a Friday and Saturday night. We would get in our car and we would cruise down Main Street. We would go up Columbia Avenue, and at the time, I'm trying to think what's there now, City Hall. It was a, not a co-op, but a farm store. And you would turn around there, or H.G. Hill, and you'd start the trek back downtown. And if there were a parking place left, you would back your car up on the square, and hopefully your friend had a pickup truck, because you would put that tailgate down and you would sit there all night long and just wave at your friends. That's all we could do. Literally. That's why I got.
And we're the ones that call the police on
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. Yes, we would drive out in the country, and I can remember skipping school. Yeah, I was one of those kids. I would skip school, and I'd either go Del Rio all the way over to Temple Road, or my other skip school was I would go down Jordan Road, which natives will tell you don't say Jordan, it's Jordan. Most of those people are dead now, so don't correct me anymore, but it's Jordan Road. And I can remember when Jordan Road stopped being an old country road where you could go all the way to the end. If y'all know now, it's cut up and one way, and part of it's a walking path. And we talk about restaurants. When I moved to Franklin in 1977, Dirty Kroger, which will always be Dirty Kroger, opened up 2 weeks after we moved in. Next door to Dirty Kroger, where the Dollar General was, a Super X. Anybody remember Super X drugstores? And then at the end of Super X was the Big K. So that was where we did all of our business. Wendy's has been there until now. It became a Starbucks my whole life. And what is the Mexican restaurant was Mr. Gaddy's. And that was where all the teenagers hung out, was Mr. Gaddy's. Now, I grew up on the west side of town, and then when I got married, my first home, it wasn't really a home, was Warren Park Condominiums on North Petway. And I thought I had arrived. I really wanted my first home to be because it was cheaper, and I mean, no offense to anybody that lives there, but if you know those Bricko block buildings right across from Freedom Intermediate on the corner, they were $200 a month. I was like, if I could just afford that, we could live and move out of my mom's house. I was one of those that got pregnant at 18 and married shortly, well, married because of that. I had 3 kids by 21. So I bought my first condo at Warren Park Condominiums and stayed there until I was a family of 5 and was able to buy a house on the other side of town off Jordan Road on Heritage Court. So I raised my family when I had 3 kids on that side of town and have been on that side of town ever since. But today, if you think about what we have, and going back to what you said, I can remember one of the big outings was not only Shoney's, but Bonanza.
Right.
And Bonanza is now a hemp store on the corner of 96. And I don't know how well they do, but it's a big old place of business. Graduated from Franklin High School, and all 5 of my children graduated from Centennial. So it's interesting to see how things change, and you think about the name change from the Franklin Rebels and how that was just like taboo, and we didn't think anything about it. Most of my time was spent on the west side of town growing up, and you know, she talks about, I was at O'Charlie's for 12 years as a bartender. So I really got to watch the influx of people, because it was right when Saturn came to town. That was the impetus of Franklin changing. You used to go to school and you would either walk or your parents would take you, or there was a bus company named Lovett's Bus Company, and it was Mr. and Mrs. Lovett, and I don't remember how much they would charge, but they would drive up to your house and pick you up and take you to school. The other thing that I remember, Nate, you'll love this, trash cans were the old aluminum trash cans with the lids. And the garbage men would literally come in this little bitty, like, it was like a scooter with a thing on the back. They would come and pick up your trash. They would pull in your driveway, drive to the back of your house, take the lid off your can, pull your trash bag out, put it in, and drive away. Can you imagine? That was what life was like here. But when Saturn moved to town, it was like all of these people from this foreign country of Michigan to us. They come in and house prices start going up. They start saying, y'all don't have a bus system here? That's when we got a bus system for the schools. Because of the influx of massive amount of people, they were like, we have to drive our kid to school. That's not what we do. So for those of you who don't know, you want to know when it started changing? It's not California. It was when Saturn moved to town. That's when.
Mall.
Yeah, in the mall.
In the mall.
But
yes,
they didn't
the
live
mall.
here. They just came to visit and went home.
Yeah, the mall. Yeah.
But yes.
That was a biggie. the
So when you
mall.
see that no cruising zone, it's my family's, my generation's fault.
And
I don't know why it's still there. because nobody does that anymore.
And I remember when our water bills was like $12, and 12 and 16 in Fairview had a $100 water bill, and I was feeling sorry for them. And I'm thinking, wow, why do they have water bills so high? And ours was so low. I never understood why ours was so low, which we paid it, but you know, it's changed. But I remember that as well, that we had a very, 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 very low water bill. You remember that?
Not
Remember
anymore.
that?
So I want to go back and have Margaret talk a little bit about, because I have it in your bio, but when you were growing up, you went to, was it Franklin Elementary? Okay, so you went to Franklin Elementary.
And it was at 5 points
Okay. And
through the 8th grade.
you went to that all the way through the 8th grade, right? And then went to Nashville to Harpeth Hall for high school. So, and then
We had a teacher that taught at Harpeth Hall, Miss Eggleston. She lived on Lewisburg Avenue.
Trisha's mom.
Huh?
Trisha's mom.
Trish's
Grandmother, probably.
grandmother.
Okay.
Yes. And because she taught there, she had several of children to go in. So we drove to Nashville every day.
So, and then Miss Alma, you shared with me that you went to Johnson Elementary,
Yes.
and it was
through
still
8th grade.
and it was still a segregated school when you went through that, right?
Yes, and it was 1st to 8th grade, and we had 8th grade graduation, and we all wore little white dresses and white shoes. And I look at the little kids that graduate from 8th grade now, they have the prom dresses, and they parents spend like $500 on a dress, and they are just sharp to the nines. And I'm thinking, wow, I'm glad I don't have a child right now graduating from 8th grade. Because think about, you know, when you go to the prom and all that stuff. But yeah, 1st through 8th at Johnson Elementary, and it was built primarily for colored students, is what it was. Named after a doctor in Franklin that was a prominent doctor who, I was born at his hospital, Charles C. Johnson Hospital, which is, there is a Pureit dealership there now. On Columbia Avenue, that's where his hospital was in that area. And they moved he had a house over there too, and they moved his house to Granberry Street. And it's still there. But he was a very prominent doctor in Williamson County.
And then I taught school at Johnson for 31 years.
Yeah.
So I was teaching the children of the children that I taught first. So, you know, when we're talking, I don't know if you're getting this, but it's like a different planet. We're on a different planet.
Right, that's true.
And when you come to town and talk about downtown, sometimes you're talking about downtown Nashville. We don't know what you're talking about. If you're talking about downtown, it's downtown Franklin. It never was. We never really connected
to
with Nashville.
Nashville, right. Yeah.
It's like a different planet. And let me just say this about our house. We live on 3rd Avenue. We bought that house in 1965. We paid $12,000 for it.
Wow.
I don't know whether you know anything about
$12,000.
prices.
Wow. She's a billionaire.
Only if
It's a
she
good thing.
sells.
I've been there over 60 years.
Wow.
And it's a good thing because I don't know where I'd go.
Mhm.
I don't know what I could afford.
Wow.
But that is, it's just like a different planet. So for those of you who are new in town, I don't know if you are. Some of you are been here for a long time. It's hard for you to feel a love for Franklin if you don't have something to connect to.
Right,
Mhm.
absolutely.
You need to be able to connect to either people or a place or memories or something. We just want you to feel a part of Franklin and love it like we do.
Amen.
And that's the reason we're here. I don't know whether you can get that from us, whether you can get the love from us. But, you know, a dirty little smelly town, that's what we were. you wouldn't have gone to the bathroom here if you'd been going through town.
Especially
You'd have
downtown
gone
at the
through-
courthouse.
Especially down the basement.
I can still smell it. They definitely didn't have a
But you know,
department cleaning department.
it's crazy the changes that have taken place. And I don't know whether you can get the feel of just us sitting up here talking. But as I told Sarah, anybody who wants to come to my house and sit on my porch and have tea and we talk about Franklin, I'm happy to have you at any time. And I'll make room for you. I'll make a space for you if you want to come. Just let Sarah know.
And I will gladly, for any of you, and if you as a mentor or mentee pair, if you want to go there and hang out with Margaret, or a couple of pairs of you want to go and sit on her porch and enjoy.
You may rather choose another era. And that's fine too. Go to Alma's or go to
That's all right.
Brandy's.
You're welcome.
If you don't want to go back this far, people say, we want Franklin like it used to be. And I say, well, how far do you want to go back?
And family, you know, as I said, the three things so important to me is God. Those who believe in God, God is first in my life, then family, and then community. And family, I always tell people that want to volunteer with our organization, family comes first. Well, God first and then family. I mean, you can't, I don't want you to come and serve and give me hours and you can't be with your family and can't take care of your family. And I give her, this lady that had 5 children, that's amazing, and take care of her family the way she has done and has given back. And I, in serving the church and in serving the community, I did not neglect my family. It was just God that was able to make me do all these things. I don't even know how I did them, y'all, to be honest. He just had a hedge around me because I think about all the things that I did with the church. I did not neglect the church. I did not neglect my family. I had a job. And then later on, I was thinking about retirement. I got my real estate license. I was getting up in the morning, going to people's houses, letting them sign documents before I went to work at Middle Tennessee Electric, and then still had kids. And I went to all their activities. And like I said, just when you give it over to God, He will make it work for you. He will make a way. He will figure out how you can do the things that you want to do, but there has to be a certain order that's important to you. Your order of importance may not be the same as what mine is, but I know that God and family has been important to mine. And then, of course, community has to be because I'm serving in the community. Okay?
I think one of the things that I appreciate from all three of these ladies is that they all truly have servant hearts. They have served this community in so many ways that they love this community. They appreciate everything about it. They've been advocates for city employees. They appreciate what you all do, and so they're really just enjoyable to sit and talk to and listen to everything that they have to say and understand, connect to the community that you're serving, and really have that servant heart, and they all exemplify servant leadership. So that's why they're all three here with us today. So Alma brought up that, volunteering and giving back, and that was when we met preparing for this and started talking. All three of them brought up ways to serve the community, and that helps you connect to the community better. So in the brochures that you have, there's QR codes for organizations that they are all either a part of or support or have some sort of special meaning to them. And those QR codes go directly to the volunteer pages for each of those organizations. The city offers additional, I think it's 1 or 2 personal days that you can get, but that does require volunteer hours. So those are some opportunities to be able to get those volunteer hours in. Another idea might be as a mentor or mentee pair, like maybe for one of your meetings, choose to go volunteer somewhere for an hour or 2 or something as a pair, and connect to the community in that kind of way, and find ways to give back and really connect to this community. Because I think if we understand who it is that we're serving and what the purpose is for us to serve this community. It makes us better as city employees. So,
Can I ask a question?
sure.
So the reason why that came up, and I think you all understand, all of us have served the city or currently are in some capacity. We know that very few of our city employees get to live here anymore.
Right.
So there's a big disconnect between serving your home and working here and going home. I would love to just see a raise of hands who lives in the city of Franklin. 1, 2. Who lives in Williamson County?
3. Wow.
Okay, that got a little bit better.
6. Wow.
So, you know, she talks about the fact if I sold, where could I go? I think all of us, I mean, I am no wealthy woman. I don't aspire to be wealthy. I will tell you that my wealth is my family and my relationships.
Amen.
And these two women are very much a part of my wealth. The disconnect that I see as an alderman, having ownership in your job, you all are without a doubt the backbone of this city. I want you to know that. I could get upset about it. I believe that with my whole heart. We are who we are because of the employees that make this a great place to live.
Amen.
And it's when those things stop, they realize that importance. I know that when the snow hits the ground, the streets department's not going to sleep that night. I know when there's a holiday, that 4-day work week that sanitation has gets all jumbled to hell. Excuse me. I know that when it's budget time, y'all are like, oh my God, where's Michael Walters Young? Because he makes this easy because this is too much for me.
Right.
I know all that. I know, you know, you want more than your 2.5% COLA. And sometimes merit-based pay is like, I don't have time for that. I guess I'll just take my 2.5%, whatever. What we talked about at Margaret's is we would love for those of you who feel like this is a job and you just kind of get to work at Franklin, but you don't get to experience it. We want you to know there's opportunities for you to be able to build relationships beyond your city staff, like cohorts.
Right.
And we want you guys, like my new job as of the last year, as I'm operating the carousel at the factory, that's a nonprofit, is an incredible opportunity for me. And it's something where we're trying to build volunteers. I would love for you guys to come and spend 2 hours waving at kids on the carousel.
Right.
And I've told my team there's 2 things that are really important for me in this. I always want us to be clean. And I want people to come here and walk away feeling like they got the hospitality that Franklin gives. And what better way, and I don't care if you wear, which Eric might have a problem with this, but wear your city shirt that says I'm an employee of the city of Franklin. You wouldn't believe the conversations I'm sure you get even out to lunch at people who see you work for the city. You guys need to be able to bask in the idea that you are what makes Franklin special. A very, very, very big part of it.
Yes.
And I recognize that. So this is not like, oh, giving you something else to do. We're trying to figure out a way that if you don't live here, that you can build relationships beyond your city employee, staff and team and mentor, because we want you to feel that you are a part of this, even if you don't lay your head here on a pillow at night.
Oh, well said. Well said. And you all don't know this, but we boast about you all the time. I boast about the city employees all the time. The city of Franklin have awesome employees because I've dealt with a lot of them and can't say anything but good stuff. Always, always. But thank you, Brandy, for that. That was well said.
I have been in cities or towns where I couldn't find someplace. So I would go in a store and I would say to the person at the convenience market, where is such and such a place? And they say, I don't know. I just work here. I don't live here. I don't know anything about it.
Right.
You know, that is really not a very good situation to have happen to a visitor. I don't know that has ever happened here. I hope it hasn't. I hope you would say, who would say, I'm sorry, I do not know where it is, but let me help you find it. Now, I will say this. Several years ago, my telephone number and address was put in the telephone book by mistake to the city of Franklin. And to this day, now I haven't been on the board since 19.
Oh, 19, my. It's been what? 4 years?
4 years. All right, I'm still getting calls about getting my garbage picked up and getting the trash picked up and how can I cut this tree. Because I said, where did you get this number? They said, from the phone book. Well, I looked it up and sure enough, it was
There it
in
was.
there.
Wow.
7942-113, and the police department is 794-2513. So I get those calls too. And you know, it is really a joy for me to get those because I say, listen, I cannot pick your trash up, but I can give you Nape's number.
That's awesome. That is
And
awesome.
it's really fun, you know, to be able to do that. So I would never say, this is the wrong number and slam up the phone. People call because they need help. They have no idea where to call. The city people know, we know departments, we know people, we know the telephone numbers, we know all of that. The general public knows nothing. They don't know who to call when they need a limb picked up or who to call if they want to go to the beer board. They don't know that.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Oh, there you go, Jessica.
Well, anyway, the point is we need to be available to help. When people need help, we need to be able to help them. And if we don't know the answer, we can find somebody who does. And that's all part of this thing about feeling a part of the community. Don't slam up the phone, but just say, if you'll wait just a minute, I'll look up a number for you. Does that make sense? If you've ever had it happen to you, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Well, you just went up a notch in my Amazing Lady book because I'm going to tell you, if they call me, seriously, I'm a servant. I have a servant heart, but I would not have that landline anymore. I would let it go. No. Because that's wonderful, Margaret.
I wouldn't give up my landline. And somebody came to my house the other day, a group came through, and they were laughing and laughing. I said, what are you laughing about? They said, look, you have a landline.
I know.
I thought, doesn't everybody have a landline? No.
Wow.
And if you ever try to be Margaret's friend on Facebook, watch out because she forgets her password. So there's probably about 10 iterations of Margaret on Facebook.
Sorry about that.
Amazing
But
Grace.
remember, she's old
That's
and she
right.
can't help it.
But she's helping everybody else.
Ladies, is there anything else before I turn it over to the audience to ask you questions? Is there anything else that you want to make sure that you share?
Well, I'm just honored to be on this panel with these amazing ladies because they've done so many things for the community, and it just gives me, it does something to me to be able to say that I'm
See, we
here
could,
today because of you all and with them on this panel.
we could talk forever, Sarah, but let them ask questions.
All right.
We'll guide
You
that.
good, Brandon?
Sure.
All right. Anybody have questions for them?
She gonna talk
Not
more.
everybody all at once.
Oh,
Oh, hang on. Victoria beat you to it.
yeah, go ahead.
All right, let's say I am a visitor to Franklin. What is the one historic place you'd recommend more than anything else to visit?
I know what you're gonna say.
Historic place.
Yeah, more than anything else. Like, that's the bucket list item. Which one would you recommend?
Before Alma, because I know what she's gonna say, we have lots of options for that, and I think a lot of them are obvious. We have a historian here, Eric Jacobson, who works at for Battle of Franklin Trust. And if you're ever able to get a tour from Eric for the Carnton, they've changed the names because you can't say Plantation anymore. Carnton, it takes you back in time.
You can't say what?
You can't say Plantation anymore
Why?
because you can't. It's not Carnton Plantation anymore. Yep. You didn't get the memo, Margaret. I would say Eric Jacobson's tour at Carnton after what Alma's fixing to tell you.
Okay. Are you ready for me? Okay, if someone came to Franklin, I would tell them, you need to go to all three because there's a story. And I tell people when they come to the McLemore House, I tell them why. I tell them you have the Carnton, and I say the Carnton plantation because that's part of history. There were 42 people enslaved there. There were slave graves there. That was then, and then you have the Battle of Franklin that's going to eradicate all of that. That's the next piece, and then the battle is won, and the Emancipation Proclamation is issued, and then there's freedom. Harvey McLemore, formerly enslaved, a free man, built his house, the McLemore House Museum. It's there for you to go over and touch and feel and know that this man was enslaved and he built the house. I would tell him you need to do all three in order to get the full story. Because
You left out the third. Tell them what the third is. You said Carnton, McLemore, and?
Carnton Carter House and the McLemore House, yeah. The Battle of Franklin, I said the Battle of Franklin, where the battle took place. But people flock here from all over to go to the Carter House to hear that story, and to Carnton. But yeah, in order to hear the full story, they need to go to all three. So I would suggest all three, not just the McLemore House, but you're right. The McLemore House is important. It's a big part of the story. It completes the picture, the puzzle.
And Alma, while you're talking about that, and you brought up the emancipation, so can you share with them what Juneteenth is really about and why Juneteenth is really important to Franklin?
Okay. Well, Juneteenth, we first heard about it way back in probably about 2000. Your dear friend, Miss Mary Mills, said, we need to have a Juneteenth celebration. And we had no idea what she was talking about. It didn't even sound right. What does it mean? What is Juneteenth? And there wasn't a lot going on in the country, except for in Texas. We found out, we listened to her, and she said, I'm going to try to go to the state and make this a state holiday because it needs to be. And anyway, we decided to go ahead and have a Juneteenth celebration starting in 2004. And I really began to understand it later on, what it really, really meant. And I remember, Brandon, when you brought your babies when they was little, she brought her to understand, to hear what Juneteenth was a long time ago,
With
right?
Shanita Beach's twins.
Right,
Yep.
right. And anyway, it started back in Galveston, Texas, where the enslaved were still enslaved. They did not know that they were free. It was two and a half years after the Emancipation Proclamation. And a Union general that had a fort at Fort Granger over by the Pinkerton Park, are you all familiar with that? He had his fort there, and he was the same general that went to Texas and informed the enslaved there that they were free. So they got excited, and they were chanting, they were saying, Juneteenth, Juneteenth, Juneteenth. So that's how it all started. That's how it got the name. And we were, when we first heard about it, we couldn't figure out why. We thought, why is it called Juneteenth? What does it mean? But we understand that that's how they were talking, and that's what they said, so that's how it became a holiday. And we have the event at the McLemore House because Harvey McLemore was enslaved, he became free, and we feel like this sacred ground, a celebration of freedom right on the grounds where an enslaved man was. And it's going to be a wonderful event this year, and I want to see everybody there. You all are off that day, aren't you? Take a little bit of time. The mayor, we came to Boma. And the mayor, we came to the mayor, and he went to Boma, and they agreed to have it as a holiday, right, Brandy? And you didn't bite your tongue, did you? I mean, she was.
No, ma'am.
Yeah, they were ready to declare this as a holiday. And the city of Franklin, Tennessee, remember this, you all. You all may not know this, but they did it before anybody in our area. A year later, after there was a rally on Juneteenth Day that brought a lot of attention to people in our country. And that's when a lot of people's eyes got focused on Juneteenth, and they started remembering what it was. And then you started seeing all kinds of Juneteenth stuff. But the year before that, we had already gotten it as a holiday from the city. So hats off to the city of Franklin. That's first in so many things. And that was an important thing. So that's why Juneteenth is so important to us. And June 19th, we will be at the McLemore House all day. And you can just come by, and we're going to have a good time. And Angela will be there with the city. And anybody, if any other city department wants to come, we'll make room for you somewhere. We'll go further on up the street because we stop at a little past Johnson School But we can go all the way up to Mount Hope if y'all want to come.
All right, I'm not going to keep you long, but I just want to give you guys an example of how these ladies have shaped Franklin. In so many ways, they've touched my life in different phases. I met Miss Margaret. We were at some competition. They put a blindfold on her, and I was feeding her food. and it started from there. We was at some kind of competition.
cake.
I fed her cake.
Wow.
And she was blindfolded. She said, "You got this," and she kept eating cake, and I just kept feeding her cake.
So cute.
Miss McLemore grew up in the same neighborhood, Hill Estates.
Uh-huh.
I used to go to her garage to get my hair cut. Her son owns Cuts and Blessings. He used to cut my hair.
He
Oh,
cut your hair?
Anthony.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Anthony, we call him Connell. He used to cut the hair. You take $5, you're gonna come out with the best haircut you ever had as a kid. So that's it. And then Miss Brandy, I picked up her garbage. And I think it was one male lady that came out there was kind of irate. Y'all saved my life. Because I could have got in trouble. Your husband came out and said, "I saw everything. It's not your fault." But the relationship.
And now look at him.
Yes. So these
know.
ladies have so much knowledge. If you just take the time, volunteer for one of these. Volunteer. You're going to get so much knowledge. So much is going to come out of this. It's going to make you better. So thank you for everything that you do.
Love you, Nate.
Thank you all. And we love our city employees. We do.
Anybody else?
Go ahead. No.
Margaret had something. Then she.
Well, I just want to say, break in. This is the teacher in me coming out. I would love to know each of you personally.
Yeah.
And when I was on the board for 16 years, I did learn some of you. But it's so important to know each other, to communicate, and to serve together. I would love to know each of you, and if I see you on the street and I don't speak, just slap me on the back and say, "You know me," that we have met. So I just want to say that, because Nate bringing this up about the connection we have to each other.
Well, and take those opportunities. Reach out to me. I am happy to set up a time with Margaret or connect you with Margaret, and go sit on her back porch. She'll serve you coffee or her mint tea. If you didn't get some mint tea already, make sure you do. She made lots of gallons of it to bring to.
And y'all can't come to my house, but you can meet me at Halfway Market any day you want to.
Well,
And that's where I see so many. and
Tuesday through.
That's true. Not Sunday and Monday. The other thing too, kind of to piggyback on what Margaret says, when you consider there's almost 800 employees in the city of Franklin,
It's phenomenal.
it is really hard to know everybody's name.
Right. That's right.
Okay, I don't know your name. In the middle of the row, blue shirt. I've seen you a million times. Yeah. See? But it's like, I can't call you by name, and it almost hurts my feelings. But I know you. You know what I'm saying? I know your face. I see Jerry out watering, downtown all the time. I want to scream and do things, but it's really daunting to be on this side of it. And I don't ever want you to think it's because I don't care or I don't remember. It's because it's a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm not 87 yet. I'm 57.
You will be there.
I know. I hope so.
We hope so. Yeah.
But like Robert, I've watched Robert grow through his position.
Right.
When I got
Amen.
here, it was Ray, and Ray scared me
Right.
the crap out of me. Ray's personality was very different, but I look at Robert, and I knew your dad's still living. I know his dad, but to watch Robert excel through I could get upset, excel through his role from where he started, and now look at him as the department head. He's a dad. He's married. Robert showed up the other day at our opening. I didn't even know he was coming. But I'm so proud of you
I know.
and what
Amen.
you've done for our community.
Amen.
And Stephen, who I call the wizard, who kind of comes in and out of our media department. But you all matter so much. And I look at Blake, and Blake is like a child to me, but he's a man. But I've been in situations with Blake in a public meeting where I'm arguing with him because he's wrong. And and he will kindly, in his nice professional way, kind of look at me like, I'm going to let you finish talking and we're going to talk about this later, but you're wrong. And I look at Jessica and I think about how excited she was when she got this job, but then being able to literally move into this community and have her family here and then go through Leadership Franklin last year. And I know that you feel even more rooted today than you did a year and a half ago. So I want y'all to know how much we really care about you as people. And while we don't get to interface with you like you do with each other, we definitely want to.
Amen.
So,
You're talking about Blake
yes, ma'am. He's
arguing
12.
with you.
Yes, ma'am.
When I was on the board 1,000 years ago,
It was
Jim
not that
Martin.
long ago.
Jim Martin, no, this was the first time.
Oh,
Jim
okay.
Martin was the attorney. And he said one day, he said, Margaret, I am the attorney in this room. You are not. So I got it too.
Yeah.
Like those were-
Well, and I don't know if y'all know, but Bob, her husband, was our planning director forever. So Margaret not only knows the city in her role, but she got to live with Bob
Right.
talking about planning West Haven and
All
all
that
these different
stuff.
things we should do. So she was always more prepared when it came to planning when we got to meetings because she spent the night with Bob.
I got the lowdown.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Well, if you,
So thank you for all the kind, supportive things you've said for the employees. It may surprise you to hear that we don't always hear such kind, supportive, encouraging words as we serve the citizens and the public. Most of the time, everyone is appreciative and grateful, but not always. So I guess I would want to hear from you any words of wisdom, because you all have been servants, and so you probably also have experienced some times where people have not always shown their appreciation for the things that you've done. How do you stay encouraged? How do you not throw in the towel when it feels like no good deed goes unpunished or it was all for naught? What can we maybe take with us to keep in the back pocket on those hard days?
I have a thought. You are there. You are a face. And when somebody has a problem, it automatically goes to you. It may not be your business, it may be another department, it may be something, but you are there. And it's much easier to open up and criticize when you've got a face. Just know that it is not personal. It is not. You just happen to be there. Bob used to say that people would come in and say, you wouldn't let me do this. Well, Bob couldn't say he could let them or not let them do something. That was up to the board. But he was there, and he took the darts. And that's what we do. We're there, and it's so, when I said not to say ugly things to people, well, I do. And when people would let me have it, I would say, you know what, you need to be an alderman yourself. Why don't you run for alderman? Then you can sit up here and make the kind of decision you think ought to be made. But you are the face. You're the only one sitting there that they can touch and let have it. So just don't take it personally. Just try to be sweeter than I.
well, Margaret's right. You can't take it personal because I'm telling you, and Brandy knows this too. Sitting on the planning commission, I'm telling you, some of the things that people say, with me being born and raised here, I could have lots of things to say, but I have to hold my tongue. Like, when I worked at Middle Tennessee Electric, I knew a lot of the addresses, and we get letters. We get lots of letters. Nobody wanted the Walmart, the people around. Nobody wants anything ever. And they'll say, well, I moved here 6 months ago, and I want to say, I've been here all my life. One of my sons live in Spring Hill. One lives at my house, and you're complaining. I want to do that, but I have to be respectful to my position and what I'm doing on the Planning Commission, because it could be a back and forth. And one day this person got up. She was talking about Berry Farms. They was gonna, they were proposing apartments, and she got up and said, "I don't want these apartments here. It's gonna be like the projects over on Natchez and that Natchez Street area." Okay, myself and Marsha Allen, I had to just be quiet, but it bothered me so I started to say something at the next meeting because I was so bothered. But then I just had to let it go, because that's what people do. I would be back and forth with people. I mean, you don't do that in a meeting. The meeting would never be over. People have their thoughts. That's what they think. That's on them. But we have to make the best decisions based on the facts that we have. But I will say, outside of the planning and all that, if somebody has something, I'm a defensive lineman for the city of Franklin. I will defend the city all day long if somebody's complaining to me like, they're tearing this down and blah, blah, blah. And why are they building a new city hall? And all, they're just things, and you can comment on that, and you can give your comments on that. But it's hard, but you just have to, like Margaret said, you just don't take it personal.
Well, and hold on to the good days too, Jessica. I mean, when you're in a customer-facing job, I mean, it can be really, really difficult. Not that this is helpful, but find your value in your personal life. Know that you're loved and appreciated by the people that really matter, that are going to take that bullet for you.
That's good.
And it makes the other not so hard. But also find ways to find, support within your team, because they're getting it too. And out of the public's ear, commiserate about those stories about what a piece of work XYZ was, Because sometimes if you share it and you let it go, it doesn't build up inside you. I think if you start letting all those bad experiences stack, you're going to blow like a top. But find the people that understand and share that same unfortunate situation, and somehow it just dissipates away.
Mm-hmm. And when you follow the law, that's your business. It's not your business to change it. It's this group up here. But just follow the law, and then you're okay.
And then think about the poor people in B&S who piss people off every day.
Right.
There was a guy that came up to the factory the other day, and he was talking about how the neon signs in XYZ were supposed to be 15 inches from the window, and they weren't. And I've called the tenant, I've called them, and they haven't responded. I've called, so they came up to the main office to say, what are we supposed to do? It's almost like sometimes you can't kill the messenger. And what I try to say when B&S is involved, because it is a very contentious job, and same thing with a police officer, they may not agree with the law that they're upholding. Their job is to follow a piece of paper and the rules set out in front. It doesn't mean that piece of paper is always common sense, but they can't deviate, because then the rules wouldn't apply to anybody.
Right.
You know what I mean? It doesn't mean the delivery doesn't need to be a certain way. And I think that's probably the hard part, is when you get so bitter because people are always angry, trying to deliver that calm, like, I understand, Mr. Smith, but this is just, this is a job I'm charged with, and I have to do what I'm told to do, and I may understand your side, but that's not the role I get to play.
To understand the frustration. I understand your frustration.
Yeah.
Just the messenger.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm just the mailman. And just,
Oh, sorry, Ms. Alma, go ahead.
I was just going to say, as long as you're using integrity and doing the right thing, and you can go home and sleep at night, and have an attitude of gratitude, because, things can always be worse, always. So we always look on the positive side of things as we deal with life. It's never going to be I'm not going to get roses every day. I'm going to get thorns sometimes, and I'm going to get beat up. But anyway, as long as we bounce back and do the best we can, the next step, we don't look back, we look ahead.
This is kind of on that same thread, and we all love a good Margaret story. So, Margaret, could you share the story with us about when you were on the board and there was, I think, some rezoning or something going on, and you had a comment for somebody about how much change and growth there was going on.
I love that.
I guess you're talking about the remark I made. Well, when you annex land, sometimes the person who owns the farm and lives in the house wants to divide the land up, sell the land. And maybe that's in the city. He's still in the county. And sometimes the development around it is already planned. People have lived there for years. They've got their neighborhoods like they want it. And suddenly this man decides he needs to go to the nursing home. So he's going to sell his property. And but in order to sell it, he wants it to be annexed because he can develop more in the city. So he comes to the board, and the neighbors are incensed because they have their neighborhoods planned. They're quiet. In this particular case, there was a big area of land, and there were a lot of deer, wildlife. It was like a park. And the neighbors were just furious. And you could tell, you knew why, you understood. And so they were all there that night, and they got pretty heated and said some pretty unkind things. And one woman said, "We do not want these people living here. We do not want them in our neighborhoods. We don't want them here." And I knew what everybody was thinking in the room. I knew it, but nobody would say anything. And I said to the group, "We feel your pain. When you moved here, we didn't want you either."
Yes, she did.
But and the attorney, the city attorney, turned the color. That flag right there. She didn't know what she was going to have to come up with. I said, "But you came, you settled here, you became part of the fabric of our community. We accepted you, we love you, and you have added to what is here, our community. And we're glad you're here, and we must do the same." Because we didn't have any right to tell them they couldn't do it.
Right.
So anyway, I've never lived that down.
I think that's a beautiful story.
But
Beautiful
everybody
story.
felt it.
They always
we
do.
didn't want you either. Listen, I lived downtown all my life, and every time a subdivision would come, we'd say, "They're going to ruin our town." Well, they came, then the next one came, and those people said, "They're going to ruin our town."
And they just
I mean,
moved.
it just happens.
Everybody wants
I
the
guess
door
it's human
shut behind
nature.
them.
Exactly.
Don't you think it's human nature?
Yes.
You may have felt it where you live, I don't know. But if you live on a farm, let me tell you this, let me warn you. Be careful. Because if you live where there are cows in the neighborhood, they won't be there long. That'll be built on too.
Mm-hmm.
So just get ready.
Right.
I always tell people
Don't
they
be
get mad
surprised.
about redevelopment, and they're like, "But I see cows out my window and this," and it's like, just because you see cows out your window doesn't mean it's always going to be that way,
Right,
unless you
absolutely.
buy the property underneath its feet.
Right.
And we are the bad guy
Right.
because we let it happen.
Right.
But I mean, a great analogy.
Right.
You age in place. You don't need this property.
Right.
Your kids don't live here.
Right.
Why should you not be able to realize the value and the investment in your
That's
property?
That's
It's not
people's
right.
savings.
Yep.
That's their savings. That's their investment.
Right.
Is that house
The life
on that
savings.
farm.
Absolutely.
And when they have to go to, listen, I'm going to be going before long. So I need to know that. My family, my parents had to go to a nursing home. And, you know, that's just going to happen. That's part of life. So you have to look at it through the eyes of everybody.
Right.
And I pray every day that I will see things through God's eyes.
There you go.
Because He sees the heart. He sees what your needs are. He sees how you feel. And if we could see what God sees, then we would understand. And we would be in a much more loving society.
Amen.
Boom.
I didn't mean to get off on that.
Church is now, we can have communion now.
Ooh.
We're getting close to closing up. Did anybody else have something that you just really want answered? Ladies,
you
do you
all.
have any final thoughts for
Well,
us?
I just want to say there are several people in here I do not know, and the ones that I've served with in the city, I appreciate what you all do. And the ones that I don't know, if you see me somewhere, just come up and say something, and then I'll get my phone and do a selfie, and that way I'll know. I'll have you on my phone, and we'll be BFFs forever again. And now I have a new friend because he goes to Cuts and Blessings, so I really got to know. Oh, okay.
I just want to thank Angie and Sarah. I know there's a lot of work that's put in the back end of this, and I think that this program is going to be a different game changer for you guys as staff, because it's kind of like any other kind of leadership program. The people in this room and the time you're spending together, you're pouring into each other, and you're always going to be connected.
Yes.
And I think I want you to see the value of what you're able to do today in this room. And we hope to be on the periphery of that and be a part of that experience. But hats off to you, and I know you as well. Very prepared, and I hope to see this continue throughout the city for a long time. So,
Awesome.
Thank you for inviting us.
Well, thank you, ladies, for being here. It's been, I couldn't have scripted it out any better than it was. I knew that all I had to do was ask one starter question, and it would just go from there. So they were all worried about, well, what questions are you going to ask us, and how is this going to go? And I was like, well, we're just going to start here, and then we'll see where it goes
We
from
weren't
there.
worried. Who was worried? We could talk for days, couldn't we? Every one of us.
I do want one more note before we close out. Brandy, I believe there's some books
Oh,
right
yes.
there on a table.
So one of my careers, I started a magazine called Southern Exposure that's still going on. I left the bar industry and decided I was going to open a magazine. Go figure. But it was a really wonderful season in my life to be able to tell the stories of this community. When I sold the magazine to the Williamson Herald, I stayed on for a while. And as I was leaving, I'm like, wow. I mean, there's so many stories that are lost. So a magazine's disposable, and a lot of people threw it away afterwards. I get it. I did too. I had the absolute pleasure to make a coffee table book with some of my favorite pieces. Alma and I were talking. She's in the book. A lot of people that you know, a lot of people in there are gone, which really makes me sad. So had great success. It's called Legacy, The Stories of Williamson County. And I don't really sell them anymore, but I have some. And so I try to give them away to groups like this. And so please grab a book on your way out. It is stories taken from the pages of my magazine. Some of them are edited to make sense. Some of them have updates from things that happen. But it's a pretty book. I took a picture out on Old Natchez. So that was back in the days when I used to be a writer and a photographer. Robert, if you don't have a book, please take one as well. But that is my gift to you. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it means something to you, because it means a lot to me.
So sweet.
I can sign it if you want to, but we do a lot about telling our Civil War past. And I think that's a great part of who we are. And it was important to me that we continued to keep hold of the people in the middle. That's why I did the Jimmy Gentry statue, because I want people to know there's other history besides the Civil War.
Right.
So that's
Amen.
a piece of something that I did with a lot of people at Leadership Franklin. So if you see Jimmy Gentry statue, that was because of parks. It was because of streets department. and all the people that helped make that happen. So, yeah, enjoy the book. And
You know,
if you don't want one, you want to take it and give it away to somebody if you've already got it, that's fine too.
I just want to say this about the Civil War. My
Oh,
school
Lord.
children thought I was here during the Civil War. So, you know, that I'm on that other planet. So
So delightful.
they thought,
That is too funny.
Thank you all.
Well, ladies, thank you for being here.
Thank
and
you.
Thank you all for coming today.
Thank y'all.